Welcome to Pagoda Podcast, where we explore ideas, strategies, and insights to help businesses grow and scale.
It's great to be back.
I'm your host.
Yeah.
And sitting across from me is the CEO of Black Pagoda. Now, usually when we sit down, we're talking about, Q4 goals, quarterly planning.
Yeah.
But today, looking at this stack of research, we're doing something a bit different. We're stepping into a time machine, essentially.
That's right. We are firmly planting our feet in the landscape of business operations as they stand right now. So specifically here in February 2026.
2026. It still sounds futuristic when I say it out loud, but well, here we are. And honestly, looking at the source material for today's deep dive, the whole conversation around AI it's shifted so dramatically from a few years ago. It feels like we went from sci-fi to utility almost overnight.
It really has. I mean, if you think back to 2023, maybe 2024, the early days of that generative AI boom, the narrative was almost all fear. There was just this pervasive anxiety that AI was coming for everyone's jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
The headlines were all about replacement. It was adversarial.
Yeah, the robots are coming to take your seat at the desk. Yeah. It was total panic mode. But looking at the reality of it today, that isn't quite what happened, is it? We're not seeing these mass unemployment lines of accountants and project managers.
No, we aren't. And that's really the core tension we need to get at right up front. The fear was that AI removes people. The reality, which we're seeing so clearly now in 2026, is that AI removes inefficiency.
Okay, I want to pause on that.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like a very nice, polished corporate slogan. It removes inefficiency. Yeah. But let's be real for a second. If I'm a business owner listening to this, isn't removing inefficiency just a polite way of saying, I don't need as many staff? I mean, are we splitting hairs here?
That is a fair question, a fair skepticism. But if you look at the data in front of us, the roles haven't vanished. They've shifted. They've shifted up the value chain. The inefficiency we're talking about is the drudgery. The manual copy pasting, the data entry, the endless chasing of emails. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that. We want to look at how these AI tools are replacing those manual operations, the nuts and bolts of a company, and what that actually means for a business owner looking to scale or, maybe looking to exit someday.
Right. So we're talking about that white-collar assembly line.
Precisely. It's about understanding the operational shift. It's not about adopting tech just to be high-tech anymore. It's really about survival and scalability and, frankly, sanity.
So let's dive into the shift. In the materials, you identify the biggest change as this move away from repetitive manual tasks.
Yes, that's the headline. We're seeing a mass migration away from manual dependency. For so long, if you wanted to grow your output, you had to grow your headcount.
The classic throw bodies at the problem approach. You get 10 more clients, you hire 2 more account managers. Simple.
Right. But now AI tools are handling those routine operations that used to need constant human involvement.
Yeah.
And I want to be specific here. We're not talking about robots physically moving boxes. We're talking about the flow of information.
Okay, let's get granular, because that helps. The research highlights a few key areas: financial tracking, reporting, internal workflows, customer management, and decision support. Let's start with financial tracking, because historically, this is just a nightmare. A shoebox of receipts, a chaotic Dropbox folder.
Oh, it was the bane of every entrepreneur's existence. You'd spend the whole month doing the actual work, selling, delivering, and then spend 3 days at the end of it playing detective, trying to figure out if you actually made any money.
The end-of-month scramble, everyone hates it.
In 2026, that manual entry it's largely gone. But it's not just that a computer is typing the numbers, it's about agentic workflows.
Agentic? Okay, unwrap that for us. That sounds like jargon from a spy movie.
Well, an agent in AI is just software that can take action to achieve goals. So in financial tracking, the AI doesn't just record an invoice. It ingests the PDF, it reads the line items, it cross-references it against your purchase order in another system. It checks the bank feed to see if the payment cleared, and then it reconciles it.
So it's actually doing the logic check. It's not just a fancy calculator.
Correct. It flags anomalies. If a vendor charges you $500 more than usual, the AI stops and says, "Hey, human, this looks wrong. Approve or deny." It's doing the thinking, not just the typing.
That is a huge distinction, because that means you know where you stand on Tuesday morning, not 3 weeks after the month closes.
Exactly. Real-time visibility.
Which leads right into the second point,
Right.
Reporting. And reporting is such a dry word. It sounds like homework, but it's really the dashboard, isn't it?
It's the lifeblood of strategy. But here's the old problem. Reporting was always lagging. It was a post-mortem, a PDF of what happened last month.
It's like driving a car using only the rearview mirror.
That's the perfect analogy. With AI-driven reporting, it's immediate, it's predictive. The tools generate insights on the fly. You aren't waiting for an analyst to export data, put it in Excel, make a pivot table, then put it into PowerPoint.
Right.
The system just presents what you need, formatted, the moment you ask.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate again. Sometimes I don't know what to ask. If I just have a mountain of data, isn't that just overwhelming? Does the AI dump 1,000 charts on me?
No, and that's where the insight part comes in. The systems are smart enough to highlight what matters. It might say revenue is up, but your margin on product B dropped 10% this week. It draws your eye to the fire before it burns the house down.
Okay, that I can get behind. Now, internal workflows. This one feels a bit abstract. Are we just talking about a faster Slack message? What does this look like?
Think about the handoffs, the friction points. In a typical business, person A does a task, say, closes a sale. They send an email to person D to draft a contract. Person B downloads a file, fills it out, saves it, uploads it for person C in legal.
The classic email chain of doom. Final_V3_revise.docs.
Exactly. That's a manual workflow. It's slow, things get lost, and it relies on human memory to keep moving. In 2026, AI orchestrates those workflows.
Okay, give me an example. Walk me through a deal closing today.
Sure. Salesperson marks a deal as won in the CRM. Immediately, an AI agent reads the deal terms. It drafts the contract from approved legal templates. It sends it to the client for e-signature. Once signed, the AI files the document, alerts finance to send the invoice, creates the project board for the ops team, and sends a welcome email.
And a human didn't touch any of that.
The human closed the deal. The administration of the deal happened instantly, without error, and without anyone having to remember to loop in finance.
Wow. It's like having a project manager who never sleeps, never drinks coffee, and never forgets to follow up.
That is a great way to put it. It removes the administrative friction between the actual value-creating tasks.
All right, on to customer management. This is interesting because, well, customer service feels like the most human part of a business. Are we saying robots are taking over the relationship?
Not the relationship, the memory.
The memory.
Think about the administrative side. Remembering preferences, tracking interaction history, anticipating renewal dates. A human can handle 5 clients perfectly, but 50, 500.
Start forgetting names. You forget they had that shipping issue 3 months ago.
Exactly. The AI tracks every single touch point. It flags a customer who might be at risk of churning because their usage patterns changed. Maybe they stopped logging in as frequently.
So it's not the AI having the conversation. It's the AI whispering in your ear, hey, this client seems unhappy. You should probably call them.
Exactly. It equips the human to be better at the relationship part by handling the data part. It turns every support rep into your best support rep because they have perfect context.
And finally, decision support. This feels like the highest level. Moving up the food chain here.
It is. This is where we go from doing to thinking. Manual decision support is me asking you to go find data, put it in a chart, and bring it to a meeting so I can maybe make a decision.
Which usually takes a week.
Right. AI decision support is the system analyzing trends and proactively suggesting, based on current cash flow and inventory turnover, you should probably delay that large purchase by 2 weeks to avoid a cash crunch.
That is wild. It's like having a CFO or a consultant on your shoulder 24/7.
It gives you options based on probability. It says, if you hire 2 people now, here is the impact on burn rate. If you wait, here's the impact on revenue capacity. It lets you simulate the future.
But here's the thing that's fascinating. We talk about saving time, and speed is the obvious benefit.
Sure.
But you argue the deeper value isn't just speed, it's consistency and reducing human error.
That makes so much sense. Because even your best employee has a bad day. They get tired, distracted, their kid is sick, and suddenly a 0 becomes a 1 in a spreadsheet.
Or they forget to file that compliance form.
Exactly. Humans are creative, empathetic, strategic, but biologically we're just. We are terrible at repetitive consistency. We get bored. Our brains are not wired for it. AI doesn't get bored. It will execute a process the exact same way with the exact same rigor for the 10,000th time as it did for the first time.
So for a business owner, that heaviness, that background anxiety of, are the books right?
Yeah.
Or is that report accurate? That weight starts to lift.
It lightens the load significantly, and when you remove the noise of error correction and the drag of manual repetition, the business it starts to behave differently. It becomes predictable.
Which leads us perfectly to the next topic.
The business.
Value.
Right.
Because we're not just doing this to be cool. We're doing it to build a better company.
Right. We have to answer The so what for the owners listening? Why does this matter for the asset you're building?
So let's talk scalability. Scale, scale, scale. We hear it all the time, but it's usually painful. How does this operational shift actually enable it?
Think about the manual model. If your capacity is based on people typing things, then to double your revenue, you usually have to, roughly double your headcount.
Linear growth. More money in, massive costs out, more headaches.
And complexity. Managing 5 people is so different than managing 50. But if your core operations, your tracking, workflows, are handled by AI, they are elastic. The software doesn't care if it processes 10 invoices or 10,000.
So the infrastructure handles the volume without breaking and without you having to go on a hiring spree just to keep the lights on.
Exactly. You decouple revenue growth from headcount growth. That's the definition of true scalability. You get operating leverage.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting for anyone thinking about an exit. Maybe not today, but in 5 years. You mentioned this impacts valuation, the actual multiple a buyer will pay.
This is so critical. When a buyer looks at a business, they're buying future cash flows, but they are discounting those cash flows based on risk.
Okay, unpack operational risk. Why is a manual business riskier?
If your business runs on manual processes, it runs on tribal knowledge. It runs on, oh, Sarah knows how to fix that, or Bob handles the billing. I'm not really sure how he does it.
The hit by a bus factor. If Bob wins the lottery, the billing department just collapses.
Exactly. That is high risk. If the value of the business walks out the door every night at 5, a buyer gets nervous. They can't replicate it. But if those processes are automated, embedded in code, in those agentic workflows, they're transferable. They're documented by their very definition.
Because the code comes with the sale.
Right. A buyer looks at that and sees predictable performance. They see a machine that works, not just a group of people working hard.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge light bulb moment for me. Automation isn't just a tech upgrade. It's a value driver. You're turning your operations into a tangible asset.
Precisely. And this affects the multiple. A buyer might pay 3 times profit for a business that runs on chaos and heroes. They might pay 6 or 8 times for one that runs on automated, predictable systems.
And I imagine valuability becomes much easier too, right?
So much easier. A buyer can audit an AI-driven process in an afternoon. They can see the logic. They can trust the data because they know it wasn't just mashed together in Excel the night before due diligence.
So if you're a business owner in 2026 and you are still running on manual grunt work, you are literally leaving money on the table. You're building a less valuable asset.
You're increasing the perceived risk for a buyer, which lowers the check they're willing to write. It's that simple.
Wow. Okay, so we've established the robots are efficient. They make the business more valuable. But I want to circle back to the elephant in the room, the people.
Yes, the human element.
We said AI replaces inefficiency, not people. But I can imagine a listener thinking, well, if the AI does the tracking, the reporting, the workflows, what do I do? What does my team do?
It's an important question about the nature of work. And we need to be clear, the goal isn't to have a ghost ship running on autopilot.
Right. No one wants to be the only person in an empty office staring at a server rack.
At Black Pagoda, our philosophy, and what we're seeing work across the market, is not fully automated management. We're not trying to build a CEO bot.
So no robot overlords?
No,
not yet.
Not quite. The goal is combining AI-powered insights with human expertise. It's a symbiosis.
How does that balance work in practice? What's the line?
Think about the difference between data and judgment. AI is phenomenal at processing data. It can read 10,000 customer reviews in a second and tell you sentiment is dropping. It can flag that cash flow will be tight in 14 days. That's the doing.
Okay, that's the raw material.
But the judgment, the decision on what to do about it, that remains deeply human. The AI says customer sentiment is down because of shipping delays. The human has to decide, do we change carriers, offer a discount, write a personal apology? That takes empathy, strategy, nuance.
I see. So the AI cleans the windshield, checks the engine, and navigates the traffic, but the human is still choosing the destination.
Exactly. And because the human isn't spending 4 hours a day cleaning the windshield doing data entry, they have the mental bandwidth to actually drive. They can focus on strategy, relationships, creativity.
That's the irony, isn't it? By automating the robotic parts of the job, you actually let your people be more human.
That is the core of it. We're freeing up human capital to do what humans do best. Complex problem-solving, negotiation, leadership. The AI handles the predictable. The human handles the unpredictable.
I love that framework. It turns that whole fear narrative on its head. It's not AI versus humans. It's humans empowered by AI.
And that is the winning formula for 2026. The businesses that try to just replace everyone with bots, they'll fail. They lose judgment, they lose the soul. And the businesses that refuse to automate will fail because they just can't compete on efficiency. The winners are the ones who blend them.
So let's bring this all home. We've covered a lot of ground. We're looking at a landscape where the manual grunt work of business financials reporting workflows is being taken over by these AI tools.
Correct. And that shift is driving consistency and reducing error.
And for a business owner, that translates directly to scalability. You can grow without those growing pains of linear hiring. And it lowers operational risk, making the business way more attractive to a buyer who wants predictable performance.
It turns the business into a scalable, valuable asset.
But, and this is so crucial, it's not about removing the human. It's about leveraging AI for the insights so that humans can use their judgment to make smarter business decisions.
That's the Black Pagoda approach. Use the tools to clear the path so you can walk it faster and with more confidence.
It really feels like we're at a tipping point. The tools are here, the strategy is clear, the question is just about execution.
And looking forward, I think that gap is going to widen. The businesses that adopt these tools thoughtfully, not just plugging in software for the sake of it, but really rethinking their operations, they're going to be positioned for massive growth.
And for those exits we talked about.
Absolutely. It will be the premium assets in the market.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a thought that occurred to me. If the operations can run themselves, if the machine is doing the work, it sort of changes the role of the business owner, doesn't it?
It does.
It raises a pretty provocative question. If the business operates itself, does the definition of a CEO change from an operator to purely an investor?
And are most small business owners really ready for that identity shift? To stop being the fixer and start being the architect?
That is the million-dollar question, and frankly, the ones who can make that identity shift are the ones who will win the next decade.
So if you're listening and realizing your operations are still stuck in that manual era, or if you're just curious about how to actually implement this blend of AI and human expertise, there's a place to start.
We encourage you to move beyond the theory. You can explore practical AI and automation strategies at www.blackpagoda.com. We've set it up as an educational starting point to help you navigate this shift. It's a great resource to really see what this looks like in practice. Because understanding the concept is one thing, but seeing how it applies to your workflow is where the light bulb really turns on.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be in business. The tools are powerful, but the future still belongs to the people who know how to wield them.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you all for listening to this deep dive. Go check out the site, rethink those manual tasks, and we will catch you on the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.